Now for the reset of the rotator cuff or frozen shoulder syndrome. The first exercise we're going to do, Ashley, is external rotation of the shoulder joint itself. If you're standing, which I am, I'll bend my knees, I'll tuck my pelvis underneath me so I don't arch my back. Even when you're seated like you really want to use your abdominals. Now, your elbow has to be at 90 degrees, so you're pivoting off your shoulder joint. Your shoulder and levator scapula doesn't hike up, stays low. What we'll do is we'll pivot off the elbow joint, the palms up, exhale as we move, inhale as we come back to start position. So go ahead and try one now. Good. Keep the 90-degree angle, come up, external rotation to lengthen the internal rotators. Good. Getting underneath and behind that scapula. Teres major, pec major, subscapularis. We're lengthening those muscles now. Once you've got that external rotation movement, now we'll go into internal rotation. And that's the exact opposite. Shoulders are low, so we're not hiking up and using those muscles. Elbows are at 90. We're pivoting downward now. Perfect. Using that breath, pivoting down. Excellent. This is usually a tighter area. This is where pitchers will throw out that arm and people get really strained in there from pushing through the volume of water and swimming. Go slowly, work within your own range of motion. Good to do them in front of a mirror where you see if one side's a little bit out of balance than the other. But there's your reset, external, internal rotation of the shoulder joint with a dynamic, active range of motion exercise, active isolated. Rotator cuff frozen shoulder syndrome. A second complementary exercise is rotator cuff locking in at the elbow. You're going to keep those knees bent, abdominals working, and in your case, abdominals stabilized, locking in at the elbow and bringing the arm across the midline of the body. Watch, Ashley, that you don't rotate your torso. Torso stays stable and almost as if you're lifting the arm out of the joint. This is going to get all the way back into the posterior deltoid, rhomboid, teres major. Great for the global shoulder joint. We call it the glenohumeral joint. We're really going to work on stability here. Watch so you don't over-rotate, locking the elbow. Also, Ashley, you start low like you did. You can come up a little higher and hit the fibers a little differently. You can also rotate the whole arm and get internal and external fibers. Great exercise for those posterior back muscles that make up parts of the rotator cuff and behind the scapula. Reset 2. Wharton Solutions, stabilize it. Remember, we've got a movable fossa. We've got this whole joint is stabilized by muscles. They've got to be flexible, as we saw from the reset. Now we've got to stabilize them through joint integrity strengthening. We may have to back off, in Ashley's case, and just start her without any resistance at all, just the weight of her arm working. So she'll get in a position where she's on her stomach. She doesn't need to be on a fancy table. She can be on a bed, a workout bench, and in this position, her elbows at 90 degrees, we can take a towel, roll it up, and place it under the clavicular head of the pec just to protect that pec and clavicle area. Now, the elbows at 90 degrees. Let's watch the movement in external rotation now. Good. And she's getting to 90 degrees. That's normal range of motion now. Great. And after a couple repetitions there, let's add some resistance. We're going to add a 2-pound weight and place the weight in the hand. The weights are light in the hands, and bringing the arm up and keeping the elbow at 90 degrees. Excellent. And external rotation. Strengthening the external rotators of the shoulder joint on the top of the scapula. Good. Now the next movement, Ashley, you're going to do internal rotation and your elbows at 90 degrees and you're coming up. And the palm stays level and you're just coming into internal rotation. And if your range of motion is a little limited or the muscles don't want to work, just back off the range, keeping the elbow at 90 degrees and coming as far as you can and backing off. Perfect. And if it wants to pivot a little bit with the elbow joint or the wrist, go back to neutral. Perfect. And a lot of times you'll have it on a narrow bench. If you get to the point where you can do 2 at the same time to save time, that's fine. Right now we want to do 1 at a time to really focus on this part of the joint. Infraspinatus is one of the weakest areas within this weak area of the rotator cuff. So be patient, use a light weight, back off in weight. This is an excellent exercise for stabilizing the rotator cuff and helping the process of alleviating frozen shoulder syndrome. Frozen shoulder syndrome. Let's release it now. A gateway into that rotator cuff is right in that infraspinatus muscle. A great way to access that is through the forefingers. Now, Ashley, let's grab a little of this muscle salve or lotion, and what we'll do is go right in through the armpit. Best way to access that infraspinatus, which is a great gateway for releasing the internal rotator area of the rotator cuff, is right through the armpit. So we'll go right in there, right in the middle, and press gently, and then start to widen the band of your pressure as you let that shoulder drop. And can you feel the tension? Good. Right in the middle of that armpit and right in that infraspinatus area, and you're allowing that tissue to come to you, so you're acting like a magnet, drawing that fascia and connective tissue and muscle fiber. Sometimes you can feel it tingling into the hands. Back off the pressure. This is a great way to do a self-care, a self-massage. In this case, we're using a gentle pressure that releases the rotator cuff.